Hey guys, in today's video, I'm going to be going over my July budget overview, going over all the numbers and all of our expenses from this past month. On this channel, I share my family's journey to financial independence, and I share all things budgeting related, including budget with me's, weekly check-ins, and much more. If that's content you're into, don't forget to click that red subscribe button and follow us along our journey. So again, in this video, I'm going to go over what I budgeted at the beginning of this month of July and our actual numbers and comparing the difference. So let's just jump right in and see how we did. I create my budget and track all my expenses in this Google Sheet. So that's what I'm going to be going over today. So in the top left is where we're going to start with our income. So for our W-2 income, I budgeted $57.42, and we actually brought in $6,230.84. Part of the reason why this number is actually, our actual amount is a little bit bigger, is I did work some extra, but then also I messed up on my calculations of our budgeted amount, and I got my numbers switched up, and I don't know how I caught it, but I get paid the same every, twice a month. I switched up my numbers and I didn't notice it whenever I created the budget. And then I noticed it after I put in my numbers. And so I'm glad I caught that. But it's funny, I ended up budgeting for this lesser amount, which makes me feel good that we were able to create a budget based off that lower amount, because next month our childcare is going to increase by a substantial amount because we have a new baby going into childcare. So that will definitely affect our budget and our income. So this number will probably be around this amount going forward. So it makes me feel a little bit better and a little more comfortable knowing that we can still manage a realistic budget with this amount. And then our next income, I put rental. Our rental stuff is actually separate, but in this case, I had to make some purchases out of our personal budget. So I had to move some of our money from our rental property checking accounts to my checking account to pay for some of the things. But going forward, I really want to keep that separate. I'm opening up a business credit card here soon in the next month or so. So we don't have to commingle funds like this. I just like to keep everything separate because it, one, makes it easier for me to try to manage the money, but also probably makes it easier for, a CPA to do our taxes as well. So I took $150 and transferred that over. And so that was $150. I actually didn't originally budget for this. I just decided at the middle of the month I would. So I just went ahead and added it in. So that brings our total income to $6,380.84. So let's see where all this money went. Scrolling down to my expenses. First, I start with my fixed expenses. Our mortgage, I budgeted $26 and I paid $2,600, and it's actually 25 and some, I forget, 2580 something, but I would just go ahead and round up to make it easier. And so some of it goes to principal. And this does include our mortgage, our taxes, and insurance all lumped up into one. We do have a long-term plan of refinancing this loan because currently we have like a 6.5% interest rate on this loan because we recently just purchased the house at the beginning of this year. Equity in the house has definitely gone up as well because we have done some house updates since then. So I know our property has gone up. So we want to get PMI dropped. So all those things are going to happen in the future. We plan on refinancing when the interest rates, I don't think the interest rates are going to go down to where they were back in 2020, but I think that they'll probably go down a little bit. And then once we get a certain amount of equity, then we'll refi, get PMI dropped, and hopefully get, even if it's just a 1% drop, then it'll probably be worth it because we plan on staying here for quite some time. Next is water. I budgeted $75. It was actually $74.43. Car insurance, I did pay for this, but now we switched it over to my husband's policy and just kind of combined it. And it's with one of the rental properties as well. So that's coming out of his account. So it's not like that they're paid with the rental property insurance. It's just the policies all lumped together. So I don't really know how it all works, honestly, because he handled that part of it. I handled the policy for the other house, which is a whole nother thing. But anyway, long story short, he handles the car insurance and it comes out of his account, so I don't have to budget for that here. Next is Apple storage. I budgeted $10 is $9.99. Internet, I budgeted $65.55. It was the normal $65.65. Electric, I went ahead and over budgeted. It was for $250. It was actually only $210.28. Now I know going forward that the amount that I get billed for, I get it the previous month. So usually by the time I create these budgets, I'll know what my electric bill will be for next month. So I was almost $40 under budget there, which is good. Cell phone, I budgeted 98. It was 96.51. I never understand like how the bill is different every single month. I think the taxes change on it. I just think it's really weird. I don't know. I just go with it. Anyway, so I was under budget there. 403B, I budgeted 94 is 93.79. Life insurance, I do have a term life insurance policy on myself. It's a 30-year term life policy. Budget 30, it's 29.43. You'd think I would remember this number because it comes out every month, but I don't. So, and plus it's just easier for me to just put $30. Next is trash. I budgeted 27. It was 27. That's pretty standard every month. My minivan, I recently bought a minivan back in February, I believe. So I budgeted 465. It was 462.81. And so yeah, that's our fixed expenses. So for the most part, we were under budget under all of our fixed expenses, which is really what I want to see. These expenses really don't change too much from month to month. The electricity does, but again, I think I'll know what the next month will be toward the end of the previous month, if that makes sense. Next is my variable expenses. These are the ones that I really have to watch from week to week to make sure that I'm not going over, because it's very easy to go over in these because our needs change from month to month and week to week. These are the ones I do my weekly check-ins. And if you watch my last weekly check-in, you would see that we have went over for the month of July. And I come to the realization that it's mainly because I didn't budget, or I didn't set a realistic budget to begin with at the beginning of this month. So I made some notes of things to think about next year whenever I budget for July as expenses come up. So our first variable expense is food. I budgeted $950 and I spent $876.08. So I am under budget by $73.92. That is awesome. That was the main thing I was really trying to focus on, is staying under a food budget. And I did this by not making a Costco run this month, which we've already done for August because we waited so long. But not going to Costco, going to the grocery store once a week, meal prepping, and then also looking at the ads and coupons that were available that week at the grocery store. And so that really helped on our expenses and staying under budget. We did go out to eat like a few times for fast food. I say more than just a few times. So even going out for fast food and getting the kids something here and there, we were still able to stay under budget. So I'm really happy about that. For gas and car, I budgeted $150 this month. I spent $91.82. So it was under budget by $58. So the only thing about this is I do know the last day of the month. No, it wasn't the last day. It was the 30th. My husband actually filled up my van for me. I think it was like a quarter of a tank. And so he just filled it up for me. So technically that came out of his budget, but it would have been right at $150. Going forward, I might have to adjust this, especially now that I'm going to go back to work this week and I'll be driving a lot more. Next is household. I budgeted $60 and I went way over budget for household. I spent $159.13 and I already know most of this came from me buying new bedding. I bought new pillows. I bought pillowcases. I bought a duvet cover. I didn't have one before. And now that I bought all those things, it makes me want to make my bed every day, which before I'd hated to make my bed because it wasn't really pretty. And now that it's pretty, I want to make my bed every day. And so I just feel like that's a good habit and just just brings me a little joy. So yeah, that's something I should have created a sinking fund for or saved up for, and not necessarily it wasn't necessarily an impulse buy, but I didn't want to wait any longer to buy it. That's for sure. So in that category, I was over budget by $99.13. Next is miscellaneous. I budgeted $100. I spent $114.38, so it was over budget there by $14, but not horrible. $100 of this was a treadmill that I bought on Facebook Marketplace because I was trying to incorporate more healthy habits. So my goal is to get up in the morning and make my bed and then go walk on my treadmill. We'll see, how that goes so far. It's hit or miss with the treadmill walking part. Next is pups. I budgeted $75. I spent $49.91, and this I did buy their usual dog food and the amount that they need, but I had gotten a credit from Chewy's or purchasing from Chewy's. So that's why it's discounted here. So I was under budget there by $25.09. Next is baby. I budgeted $60. I actually have 2 babies in the house. This is a category that I have not been setting a realistic budget for. as far as like baby and kids and whatnot. So I need to up this budget going forward. And I did in my August budget. I spent $210.72. And this was mainly on like lotions and diapers and wipes. I was over budget by $150.72. So going forward, I'm going to be putting more money into that. Next is beauty. I budgeted 60. I spent 55.69. I'm really proud of this. I made some very hard choices and really thought of this through whenever I was purchasing some of the moisturizers I usually use, and I was trying to find more budget-friendly ones. So I was under budget by $4.31. Next is medical. I, for some reason, didn't budget anything because I assumed everything would be paid out of my HSA, but that wasn't the case. I spent $118.78, so I'm way over budget there. Next is fun. I budgeted 40. It was the end of the month and I still hadn't used this category. So I took the kids to Target and they each bought a book. And so that was $50.43. So technically I was $10.43 over budget in that category, which I'm okay with because I mean, it was on books. So I'm a strong proponent of, kids reading books and educating themselves. Next is gifts. I budgeted 25, only spent 20, so I'm $5 under budget there. And then business, this is where I had to pull from our rental account to pay for some items that we bought. I pulled out 150. It wasn't enough. I ended up spending 293.74, so I'm over budget there by 143.72. I think if I took the business stuff out altogether, we wouldn't be that much over. And then for savings, I was still able to save $500. Surprisingly, I didn't think I was going to be able to put that much money into our savings after all the overages and our variable expenses, which I'll go over here in a second, but I still managed to do that. So with that being said, our fixed expenses, I budgeted $37.14. Our actual spent and our fixed expenses was $3,669.79. So it was under budget by $44.76, which is pretty great. And then our variable expenses, I budgeted $1,670 and I actually spent over $2,000. So we were over budget by $370.66. So again, if I took out that 143, at least it wouldn't be that much, but we would still be over. And again, mainly in that household, baby, and medical. Those were the three variable expenses that got us. Fortunately, I messed up on my calculations of our income. And so that really helped us as far as these overages goes. And so that's why I was able to still send the $500 to our savings. So the amount I budgeted so far is $6,210.45. So we still have $170 remaining based off the income that I received. So the income I received was the $63.80. So $6,380.84. And I only allocated $6,210 of that. So I still have the 170. So I think I'm going to add this and our savings. And I'm just going to do the 670 because I like round numbers and I'll just leave the change in our checking account. So I'll allocate the 670. I used to give this money like dedicated spaces or dedicated places in our budget, like allocate it to different savings accounts, but I still haven't decided where I want to put this money, where I want it to go, but I need to decide very quickly where to send this money. So we're actually negative here in our savings, but we're not negative. It just means we were able to save more and put money toward our savings goal, which is a good thing. So I have a visual representation of this because sometimes these numbers can look a little confusing to me. So I like the visual representation better. So I put these pie charts up here to compare the differences between my budgeted amount versus my actual and see where the money is being allocated visually. As you can see, most of my money is being allocated toward my fixed expenses. That's mainly my mortgage and car payment. And then 32% of our expenses went to variable and 10.5% went to our savings, which is pretty good because I originally budgeted 8.5 and 10.5 went in instead. So that is good. And then these is just a breakdown of each individual thing. So for example, our mortgage made up almost 41% of our actual income, which is on the high side. I do realize that. But unfortunately, with the interest rates as high as they are now and the time that we bought our house, that's just kind of like the new norm right now until we find a break in these interest rates and then also get our PMI taken off. So, which I hope that'll happen pretty soon. We do have a plan. And then the last thing I like to go over is the goals for this month. The first goal I made for this month was to stay under budget. So we didn't stay under budget in our variable expenses, but I stayed under budget overall, if that made sense. But I'm not going to check this because we didn't really stay under budget. I just so happened to have extra money come in. If we didn't have that extra money come in, we would not be under budget. So I'm not going to check this at all. And then my next goal was to do weekly check-ins, which I did do. I did a check-in every single week, and I am very proud of myself to get back in the groove and start posting videos each week, even if it was just one video a week, which is what I did. I only did one video a week in the month of July. I consistently did that, and I'm very proud of myself, especially with all the things that we had going on. Going forward, I would like to move to creating and uploading more like 2 to 3 videos a week, like I was back last year in 2022. But, I have to give myself a little grace just because I'm going back to work. I have more kids now. I have a new baby. So I'm just not pushing myself too hard and not getting burnt out. But I really enjoyed the weekly check-ins, and it really helped me not manage my budget. Well, it does help me manage my budget, but just look at it more closely so I can create a new budget each month based off the things that I learned about us and our needs the previous month. So that's been really helpful. And then down here, these aren't goals. These are actually things that I added to my just like little notes section here. I guess I should make a note section. These are my notes to remember for July for next year. Is back to school expenses. I did not budget for this, and there were so many things that I needed to get for back to school that I have been holding out on. I go back to work August 3rd, which is tomorrow technically. And that's really soon. So I really need to be doing my back to school stuff in the month of July or even June, and not wait until August because I'm already back at work and in the going through all the motions of starting to prepare and get things ready. So I'm busy already. Next is, since I am off during June and July, I tend to go to more doctor's appointments and make those annual appointments that I usually do, especially for the kids and for me. So I need to budget for medical things. Even it's if it's just like for co-pays or whatnot, there's always something that comes up, or you're prescribed like a whatever it is, the kids get sick. So I need to make sure I budget for that. The next one is, since we are off, budget more for Starbucks and fast food. Now, fortunately, I did go to Starbucks and we did spend money on fast food, but we still didn't go over our food budget, which is surprising. But I know that we don't live very close to a lot of things. So when we go places during the day, we have to drive quite far. And sometimes it's just more convenient to get things on the go. So we need to make sure that we have money set aside for these quick fast food trips, drive through McDonald's, grab a burger or grab some chicken nuggets, whatever it may be. So, the kids aren't hungry the whole time. The next one is nail and hair salon expenses. So again, I'm off during the summer, so I might want to get my toes done or get a pedicure, manicure, maybe go get my hair done. I really don't do much to my hair anymore, but it'd just be nice to be able to make sure I budget for those things in the month of July, mainly to get ready to go back to work, but also when during the summer you go to the pool, so it'd be nice to have a pedicure or something. And then the last one is, of course, budget for Prime Day expenses, because I did not budget for this. Now, I don't go shopping crazy or anything, but certain things that I use all the time just go on sale. So it's better to get them at a discount on that day. So I'm just going to start saving up for that going forward. Not a crazy amount, but just a little bit, just to get those everyday items. So yeah, this was kind of random, but just things to note, things for me to remember for next year. I think I'm going to add that to my budgets, because there's things that I always forget that happen every single year that I don't budget for, and I keep making the same mistake over and over again. So hopefully these reminders will help me going forward in the future. So there is our July budget overview. I know throughout the month I was really discouraged going over in my variable expenses and those certain categories, but I think overall We did fairly well, and I was still able to put $670 to our savings. So that makes me hopeful going forward. I think some of our spending will cool down once school starts and we start getting into a routine and things become more predictable when we have a routine instead of just like every day is a different day and different thing. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. Let me know in the comments below how your July budget went. If you haven't already checked out my August budget with me, go ahead and check that out. Again, I'm going to be doing those weekly check-ins for August as well. So stay tuned for that and hope you have a great month, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.